with Krys Copeland, Don Lewis, Lone Wolf and Mary Hawk. News headlines for the pagan community and to the world. I give you pagan news.
And hello, and welcome to the Pagan News broadcast. I'm Reverend Don Lewis, and with me are Krys Copeland, Reverend Mary Hawk, and Harold Sanford Carter III. And we are happy to see you. We hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and we have some very interesting stories for you. And Harold will be leading our broadcast today with, I believe, the next installment in his series. He'll be followed by Mary, who's interviewing the Archpriestess Mary Molinski of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church in Canada, and then has an interview with myself and Ed the Pagan regarding Gaia Thrift. Then I will go with a story about the recent Corellian Lustration and double investiture, and then Krys will go with her stories about climate activism in Europe and the recent attack on Stonehenge. So the next hour will be quite exciting. Please enjoy. Harold.
What's up, Don?
What have you got for us this month?
Well, I think that it's important that we start diving into how our pagan leaders and the community deal with our incarcerated population.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to an thrilling journey through the lives of pagans behind bars. In part 2 of the Incarcerated Pagan series, we delve deeper into the spiritual odyssey of these individuals, exploring the unique challenges and profound transformations they experience. As we navigate the complex intersection of faith, identity, and the penal system, we uncover a story of resilience and hope that transcend the confines of prison walls. This series not only sheds light on the often overlooked pagan practices within the correctional system, but also offers a beacon of spiritual guidance for those seeking solace in meeting in the most trying of circumstances. Join us as we continue to unravel the tapestry of belief, ritual, and community that thrives even in the most unexpected places. The journey is not just about the struggle, it's about the spirit that rises in the face of adversity, the communal bonds that form in shared pursuit of the divine, and the transformative power of faith that can illuminate the darkest corners of a prisoner's world. Who in the pagan community helps incarcerated pagans? What leaders in the pagan community offer scholarship, re-entry services, study, or spiritual guidance? As an ex-pagan prisoner myself, and a little research, this is what I found. Starting first with the peacemaker of the century in terms of pagan leaders in our contemporary community, I give you Sir Reverend Patrick McCullum. Patrick McCullum's work with incarcerated pagans has been a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of advocacy and religious freedom. Mr. McCullum has dedicated his life serving as a pagan chaplain, especially with the California prison system, fighting tirelessly for the rights of pagan inmates to practice their faith. His journey began as a volunteer, driven by a deep belief in the importance of spiritual support for all individuals, regardless of their faith. McCullum's efforts have been pivotal in challenging the systematic discrimination that minority faced, within the prison system. He's been a vocal advocate for equal treatment, often confronting harsh prejudice and overcoming significant barriers to bring about change. His commitment to the interfaith dialogue and education has not only benefited pagan prisoners, but has also fostered a more inclusive and understanding environment within the prison system. McCullum's work has extended beyond the chaplaincy, involving legalities to secure religious rights, provisions of ritual supplies, and educational materials for pagan inmates. His landmark case, McCullum vs. CDR-CR, highlighted the unconstitutional nature of religious discrimination and state institutions and set a precedent for future cases. Through an unwavering dedication, McCullum has not only improved the lives of many incarcerated individuals, but has also raised awareness about the broader issues of religious freedom and tolerance in society. His story is one of resilience, compassion, and a relentless pursuit of justice for all. Sir Rev Patrick McCullum's legacy serves as an inspiring example of how one person's action can ignite change in the advance of cause for human rights in general. Dixie Deerman, also known as Queen Lady Passion, is another outlet for the incarcerated pagans to have communication with the free world. Myself, as a prisoner, was in contact with Miss Queen Lady Passion, renowned Wiccan high priestess who has dedicated her life in advocating for the religious rights of pagans and Wiccan inmates alike. Her work particularly highlighted in the Pagan Prisoner Advocate's Guide as a testament to the power of spiritual guidance and support in the lives of those who are often forgotten by society. The guide is a comprehensive resource that empowers inmates to practice their faith and thrive spiritually, even behind bars. It addresses the challenges faced by pagan prisoners, such as obtaining religious materials and the right to hold rituals, and provides practical advice on how to navigate the prison system to secure those rights. The book also serves as an invaluable tool for volunteers wishing to support incarcerated pagans, offering insights into the legal rights of prisoners and how to advocate effectively. Through her work, Deerman has not only helped individual prisoners, including myself, but has also fostered a greater understanding and respect for pagan and Wiccan beliefs within the correctional system. Her efforts demonstrate the profound impact that compassion and advocacy can have on the lives of those in the prison community, helping them to find and hope spiritual fulfillment of the incarcerated masses despite their circumstances. The Appalachian Pagan Ministries exemplifies a vibrant tapestry of spiritual unity, showcasing the beautiful diversity within the pagan community. Their mission is a heartening reminder that spirituality transcends individual paths and practices, converging on the common ground of service and commitment, community enrichment. By fostering an environment where all backgrounds and faiths are welcome, they have a bunch of beliefs, each piece contributing to the strength and harmony of the whole. Their commitment to walk in their talk is not just a statement, but a living, breathing action, a dynamic force, and propels them to educate, engage, and serve as beacons of light beyond their walls, the prisoners' walls, that is. This ministry's desire to demonstrate cooperative service across various pagan paths is a testament to the power of inclusive spirituality. It's a powerful message to the world that despite differing paths, their shared journey towards serving a greater good is possible and indeed flourishing. Through their work, they are not only a greater good in their community, but also planting seeds of understanding and collaboration that has the potential to grow and extend far beyond their immediate reach. Their example encourages others to look beyond the boundaries of their beliefs, to find unity in diversity, and to act with a spirit of generosity and service. In a world where divisions often take center stage, the Appalachian Pagan Ministry offers a refreshing narrative of unity and shared purpose, proving that faith can be a bridge to these pagan incarcerated than a barrier. Now, I can't always report what's going on across the pond or down under in Australia, but Tamara von Forslund, often referred to as the Witch of Oz, has made significant contributions to the spiritual community, particularly, I assume, in Australia. Her work extends beyond the traditional boundaries of Wicca and witchcraft, as she's been actively involved in providing chaplaincy services in prisons and in hospitals. As an archpriestess of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church, since fact-checked, we're hoping 1991, she has offered her service to those in need, regardless of their location. Her dedication to serving others is evident in her role as a celebrant, where she has officiated numerous weddings and funerals, bringing comfort and guidance to many, tomorrow's approach to working with prisoners is rooted in compassion and spiritual support, aiming to provide a sense of hope and connection for those who are often marginalized by society. Homage to the Witch of Oz. The concept of rehabilitation programs for prisoners, such as Paul Barrow's POP Prisoner Outreach Program, aligns with real-world initiatives that aim to provide inmates with meaningful connections and opportunities for personal growth. Programs like the Prisoner Outreach Program and the offer platforms for inmates to engage with the outside world, fostering communication and support networks that can be crucial for the reintegration in a society post-release. These programs that emphasize the importance of education, skill development, and establishing positive relationships, which have been shown to reduce recidivism rates and aid in establishing positive relationships, which have been shown to reduce, a better transition back into the community. Participation in these type of programs, prisoners can work towards a brighter future, gaining the tools and confidence needed to build a new life upon their release. The success of these programs highlights the potential for transformative change within the prison system, offering a beacon of hope for those who are willing to embrace the journey towards rehabilitation and redemption. I often speak of my highest ideals, which was in a guidance from Mr. Paul Barrow. Now, unfortunately, Paul Barrow's POP program is extinct, but it is programs like this that helps the transition from incarceration to a community. Support systems are very valuable, and we are honored for Paul Barrow and his program. Selena Fox, a renowned figure in the pagan community, has made significant contributions to supporting incarcerated pagans. As the senior minister and high priestess of Circle Sanctuary, a nature spirituality church and pagan resource center, she has been a beacon of spiritual guidance and support for those behind bars. Her advocacy extends to ensuring that pagans in prison have the religious freedom to practice their faith, which is often a challenging feat given the diverse nature of pagan traditions and the constraints of the correctional environment. Through her role on the Religious Practice Advisory Committee to the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, Selena Fox has worked tirelessly to advise on religious accommodation issues, helping to bridge the gap between institutional regulations and the spiritual needs of pagan inmates. Her efforts have not only provided a platform for the expression of pagan faiths, but have also fired a greater understanding and respect for these traditions within the correctional system. Moreover, her work with the Pentagon and the United States Department of Justice has been a pivotal in advocating for Wiccan religious freedom, further highlighting her commitment to the rights of pagans regardless of their circumstances. Selena Fox's dedication to the pagan community, especially those who are incarcerated, exemplifies her deep commitment to religious freedom and equality. This concludes the Incarcerated Pagan series, Part 2. I'm Lone Wolf, Harold Carter, Witchcraft TV, Pagan News.
Thank you, Harold. It's a very important story. It doesn't get nearly enough attention.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. And from living a hostile life and then kind of mellowing things out as I in tune with my own spirituality, you find pathways, and these are the pagan leaders of today that are working with our incarcerated pagan people.
Yes, indeed. It's interesting that I remember covering the story of Patrick McCullum fighting particularly the California prison system. And I remember being somewhat shocked by how many members of our community at the time didn't seem to realize how important it really was. It was quite epochal. And Sir Patrick and all of the people that you talked about have done wonderful, very important work.
Mm-hmm. I think Patrick made a book exclusively for the California prison system for the Wiccans out there. And I think it was endorsed by Buckland, I believe, because I wrote in as a prisoner myself and ended up with the material. So, yeah, Patrick does great work. And even though I didn't know who Patrick was as an incarcerated man, it all fits together, on the path.
They're great people, all of them. Thank you, Harold. And Mary, I believe you have some stories for us about advancements in our community.
I do indeed. And my first story is an interview I did with Mary Maitland of the Mary Molinski, excuse me. And I'm getting this queued up here with very exciting news. She is the high priestess of the ATC in Canada. And just a moment, I apologize. I thought we had this ready to go. Here we are. Here is my interview with Mary Molinski. Hello, everyone, and this is Mary Hawk with Pagan News. And today I have with me Lady Mary Molinski. She is the archpriestess with Aquarian Tabernacle Church, Canada. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much for joining us. And you have some very exciting news to share.
I do. Last week, we received the notification from Revenue Canada that the Aquarian Tabernacle Church is officially recognized as a charitable organization in Canada. So very exciting news.
I was going to say very exciting news. And can you explain to those of us outside of Canada what this means?
For sure. So among other things, one of the things that we can now do is issue tax receipts for anyone who makes a donation to our organization, which is wonderful, especially for some of our regular major donors. And as well, it helps us moving into other provinces. So right now, ATC Canada is primarily in BC and Alberta, and marriage rights and burial rights are things that are governed from province to province. It's not a federal issue. However, some provinces require that you have charitable status to be able to have marriage and or burial rights. We're lucky here in BC. We've had marriage rights since the late 90s. We've been established as a not-for-profit organization in the province of British Columbia since 1994. And it was in 1999 that we received marriage rights with vital statistics in BC. However, we haven't been able to extend that into other provinces before now. So that's very exciting.
That is wonderful news. So how long did it take you to get this established? How long have you been working on this?
Well, I have been connected to ATC Canada since 2006, and I was surprised that we didn't have charitable status at that time. I wasn't of sufficient training to kind of initiate that at that time, but it was something I was part of being involved in looking into. When my predecessor, Lady Michelle Fabergé, announced that she was going to be stepping down and handing the reins of the church over to me in late 2018, 2019, I started really looking seriously again at the charitable status. And so we had some changes that we had to make to our legal structure. and to make sure that we fit the requirements for charitable status. And so we've really been working at it since 2019. We officially finished filing our paperwork. The process of the paperwork took a long time. So we filed all of the paperwork at the end of 2022. And initially, we received notice that we were declined charitable status in 2023 because we were told that we did not meet the qualification of a religion according to charity law. So that was a big, yes, that was kind of a shock to us because Wicca is recognized in a publication called Religions in Canada that is a federal government publication. We have, not only ATC Canada, but the Wiccan Church of Canada. There was the Congregational Wiccan Association. There have been many other organizations in the last 40 years or so or more who have had some sort of legal recognition in various provinces and places across Canada. So I was shocked that none of these organizations had yet achieved charitable status. And in meeting with some of the elders of some of the other organizations, they had worked at it, they had attempted, and also been denied. So I'm really proud of my team because, of course, this wasn't an individual effort. It was definitely a team effort. And I want to give a little bit of shout out to Lady Candy McKivitt and Lady Tori Victoria Sinclair, because they put in a lot of effort in making the case, helping to make the case that no, we do meet the qualifications of a religion according to charity law. So we had to provide our structure, right, and information. I think it was just a case where, the people who were looking at the file just didn't know enough about Wicca to realize that, yes, there is significant structure to our faith.
Well, bravo to you and your team for fighting until you got the recognition.
Oh yes, there was no question that we were going to appeal and work until we got it. So,
and that is a wonderful victory for ATC and for all Wiccan organizations, because I think you have made it much easier for the next Wiccan group to apply.
I sincerely hope that our efforts do make it easier for other organizations. And, maybe now the Wiccan Church of Canada can go back and make another attempt. I know that the new Wiccan Church here in Canada is working on their application. So, and I've already spoken to their leader as well and said, okay, here's my hints and tips. So hopefully that means that it will be easier for others in the future as well.
I certainly hope so. So you have been a real trailblazer. That is just so wonderful.
Thank you. I'm really proud to have this accomplishment, and now the work continues. Now we've got more progress and more things to work on, and it's great to have this hurdle behind us now.
Yes. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk to us about this real victory.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you.
Okay, and this has been Lady Mary Molinski. She is the Archpriestess of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church in Canada. And again, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mary. That was a wonderful interview with Mary.
It really was, and that is such a victory. And it took them so long to get there.
Well, I've been watching the trajectory of Wicca in Canada since the 1970s, and I've noticed that they've had a much harder time in Canada than we have had here. And I feel like this really is a much bigger story than I think a lot of people realize.
Correct. It really is. And I really feel like that they have broken some real barriers.
The Aquarian Tabernacle is often in the front of fights for civil rights. They were also very heavily involved in the Pentacle Quest here in the U.S. to get the pagan service people the symbol of their religion on their tombstones. And this in a way reminds me of that story too. It took so many years to get that accomplished, and in the end, it came down to the people who were in charge of making the answer. And when we talk about representation, when we talk about things like this program where we're putting ourselves after the public, one of the reasons is to let people know who we are, because there are a lot of people with very false ideas.
Yes, there are. So
Let us continue.
all right. And my next story is an interview with you and Ed Hubbard about your new venture with Gaia Thrift. Hello, everyone. This is Mary Hawk with Pagan News. And today I have with me Reverend Don Lewis and Ed Hubbard, and we are covering a really exciting story, Gaia Thrift. They are opening a pagan-based thrift store in Danville, Illinois. So thank you so much for coming on, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing, please.
So let me go ahead and start with Gaia Thrift. It's really a mainstream business in the idea of thrift, and we're going to have a pagan flavor to it, but it's really for the mainstream. And it's going to be both a store in Danville, Illinois, which is very important, and it's also going to be an e-commerce site, which we're going to be able to sell across the pieces. And it's supposed to help us with elder care and other types of ministry.
Okay, so what types of products are you planning on selling?
Oh, well, some of Don's art, I suspect we're going to do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically everything we can get our hands on, starting with clothing. Around here, clothing is mostly from the big chains. People have to really order it. So we're bringing in fashion and from across the United States, including from Nashville, which people have already done it. Mary has donated from Chicago, Renee, and so many people, and also Maggie, my daughter. So people are giving us a
Yeah.
lot of different types of clothing, but we're going to basically move anything. Um, I got some card decks to do it. I got a teddy bear, Chicago Bears teddy bear. It'll come down. It'll be anything we can do so because we're also an e-commerce business.
Okay, so people will also be able to order online.
Oh, more than just order online. In this day and age in Zoom, this is a wholly new project in the sense of the interest graph is really powerful. You'll be able to have Zoom ins. We're going to have fashion shows. We're going to have our daily show, Gaia Thrift. We're going to tell people what's in the shop. This isn't just about selling items. It's about also preserving the earth by keeping $1 billion worth of fashions from ending up in landfills in Africa. 25% of landfills are filled with clothing, and most of it's high quality. And then you have other people who could use suits for work, some t-shirts for kids, that are having a rough time with the inflationary prices. So that's important too. So it's really about bringing down prices, making things available, making collectibles available to the collectors who will then pay a premium for them, but also keeping things out of the landfill. It's about reuse, recycle, and we just got to do it.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, as a single mother, I did an awful lot of thrifting when my daughter was going through 3 sizes every 6 months.
Well, Don's known as a very dapper driver. He's going to do a show called Don's Closet. But early on, after he had his when had an injury in his early career that had kind of changed him a little bit, he broke his back. Most people don't realize he came back from a broken back.
Yep.
I taught him thrift. I teach everybody thrift, but Don can talk about the thrill of learning to thrift and how it's really affected him.
Well, it's really true. If you do not have a background dealing with it, um, I don't think you realize what wonderful things you can find there and how affordably when you have a good thrift store. I mean, there are things around here that currently exist, but they don't have wide selections and they don't really have good prices. But a good thrift store has those two things. And I found for myself, um, when I was dealing initially with reduced mobility and a much reduced income from recovering from that injury, that I was able to continue to keep a creative wardrobe. And even when I came to be more prosperous again, I could find things in the thrift stores of Chicago I couldn't find um, in regular shops. I was able to find styles that were more vintage or perhaps less everyday than you might have found in average stores, and I prefer that. I love things that are a little different. Um, I tend to like the vintage styles. Of course, and especially at that time, I was not an easy size to fit, but I could find things in thrift stores. And I've often joked that after my heart attack, when I lost so much weight and donated so many suits to the thrift stores in Florida that some fat guy had a really great day going to the thrift store after. Um, but if you're looking for dress clothes for work, for example, but you're not necessarily in a place to go be buying brand new suits or what have you, a thrift store is really helpful to you. If you're looking just for nice things that will make you feel good to be wearing them, a thrift store can be very helpful to you. And as you were saying, if you're a mother on
Mhm.
a limited income, a thrift store is a godsend.
It
Um,
absolutely is.
and children grow through sizes so quickly that being able to replace them can be difficult if you're not in a prosperous position, and sometimes even if you are.
Yeah.
And there again, too, being able to find things that are not necessarily the main street of items, things that are a little more unusual, things that maybe are a little more vintage, can also be desirable for that as well. I think that the creative aspect of thrifting is very important, both to how you build a wardrobe and or other things, because there are also household goods. But you can often find very interesting books in thrift stores. You can find all kinds of things, and it can be a real expression of creativity in your life. And if you are, and today so many people are on a relatively limited income compared to the prices that are being charged in new stores, because prices are very high right now. To be able to express that creativity is, I think, a very valuable thing. Not to have to take just whatever you happen to be able to afford that day, but to be able to choose what you actually want, what will make you feel good to wear it. I think that's very important too, as well as the ecological aspect of not letting these things be wasted or trashed or going to landfills, but reusing them, upcycling them. And Lady
Yes.
Bitterwind, who was a great influence on both Edward and myself loved thrift stores and rummage sales, which were a little bit more the downstate equivalent, but she got so much of her artwork secondhand, and that was a lot of her theory with the artwork that she did later in life, that she was taking someone's trash and turning it into treasure. And in a manner of speaking, when you get clothing or other items at a thrift store, that's what you're doing. You're giving it a new life. You're taking something that might otherwise have been thrown away and making it valuable again, and getting what you might not be able to get elsewhere.
Yes. And I do have one question for Ed. Can you explain your friend on your left there for us?
Oh, this is the Alicorn. He was a found item. He was found on the roadside in Danville, Illinois, when we were particularly depressed. And as people know, I have a connection with Faye and some other events. And it's a $1 billion. It foretold a time of $1 billion situation, $1 billion, and the idea of $1 billion project. And Gaia Thrift is exactly that. So it is 8 months later. We're kind of listening to what we're doing. And as everybody knows, we've done other things. But from a pagan point of view, this is about ending pagan poverty and ending some things for elder care. We need a source of monetization of an industry that is over $200 billion and is growing. What we throw away, what everybody's giving away, what everybody's doing, we can do great things. And it also gives, here's the most important thing, Gaia Thrift can also handle occult and pagan. If you have pagan items, if you have occult items, if you have clothing, celebrity status, we're going to have auctions. If you have books, we have now worked with not only with Don, but other elders and other groups who've needed cash, who have excess amount of things, but they just don't know how to take it to the marketplace. We'll help you. And so it's very important to understand this is a way not only just to make clothing or ordinary things but our magical things can be passed on to people who need it. And our collectibles too. I mean, there's a lot. If you have old magazines, pagan magazines, we can handle those. We can help you out with a lot of different things. We would be happy to accept it. It'll be Danville, Illinois, 19 East North Street, Danville, Illinois, 61832.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining us. And what is the opening date for Gaia Thrift?
It is Don's 61st birthday at 4 p.m. and we'll be going live on the air through Divination TV, through Corellian TV, and through other processes. And it'll be 4 p.m. on June 11th.
On June 11th. Yep.
And so we'll be showing you some of our wares and things like that. And then we'll be open for that first. We go along.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much. And we're certainly looking forward to Gaia Thrift's opening.
Thank you, Mary. And that's my latest project. And speaking of latest projects, on May 18th and 19th of this year, we had our annual Corellian Lustration of the Ancestors, which was also a double investiture. And that's going to be my story for this episode. And for those who are not familiar with it, for 45 years, I served as first priest of the Corellian tradition. Last year, I retired in office, which means that I'm still one of the first priesthood, but retired from daily activities. And at this lustration, we seated my successors as first priesthood, the Right Reverend, or the Most Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams and the Most Reverend Alyssa Maxon Kemp. And we have some video from that event to share with you some of the things that occurred. It was a wonderful weekend. People came from across the country, and it was great.
And the neighbors are along the back. Yeah, it's really tight. Yeah, y'all would end up butting butts.
So today, we are beginning the investiture rite proper. We all know we began last night with the Ancestor Memorial, but now we're moving on from the Negredo, the roots and of the past, to the Cauda Pavonis, the Peacock's Tale. This represents all of the glory of the world, the beauty of the tradition, all the good things people see, and all they think they see before they achieve higher rank, and find out it's really a lot of work.
I banish from thee anything negative.
Sir Ebony, are you ready?
And I do bless thee and consecrate thee to this work. I exercise thee, O creature of water.
And again, this is a ceremony you're not likely to see again in this lifetime.
And I do bless and consecrate thee to this work. Behold, the salt is pure. Behold, the water is pure. And purity into purity, and may purity be blessed.
Behold, the sword of art, the great lightning bolt, the phallus of God. Behold it and beware. All who would harm or interfere with these sacred workings, I banish you. I cast you out. All negativity, obstruction, all that would impede this sacred assembly, I send away and forbid to return. By this holy blade and the mysteries it represents, and by my will as the focus of the combined will of the Corellian priesthood, I bar this place to all that is impure or injurious to our right. Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself, forever. Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself, forever.
So mote it be.
So mote it be.
With this cloth, we bind Lady Alyssa, Lord Phoenix together to the sacred offices.
Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself, forever. 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 Darkness, light, in herself, himself, oneself, forever. Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself, forever. Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself, forever.
And I do bless and
Darkness,
consecrate
light,
thee to this
herself,
work.
himself, oneself, forever.
Behold,
Darkness, light,
the salt is
herself,
pure.
himself,
Behold,
oneself,
the water is
forever. Darkness, light,
And purity
herself, himself,
into purity,
oneself,
and may
forever.
purity
Darkness,
be blessed.
light, herself, himself, oneself, forever. Darkness, light, herself, himself, oneself 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 forever.
Home.
I do invoke the higher self of the first priestess, Lady Alyssa Maxon Count. Behold, may you be one with your higher self, undivided and complete. The veil set aside as we move forward with this holy rite. Behold, I do invoke the higher self of the first priest, Peacocks Tale. May you be one with your higher self, undivided and complete, as we go forward in this ceremony.
Behold, I do invoke you, O ancient ones of the West. In the name of the lands, gods, and peoples of the West, I call you forth as I have from the beginning. I invoke you with love and with respect, O glorious and beautiful ones. Come forth, join and guide us now, O ancient and holy ones.
We call upon you, O countless gods of the West. Soyutuya, Kanati, Invido Igegi, Geiguja, Iged Keneski, Inagi, Keto Kuato, Texcapi Poka, Chalkalsi Tiwike, Tlalo Clay Tioto, Ametiuso, Tlalo, Apu, Akin, Michelle, Irakosha, Pachamama, you and all who are with me. Join us now from the West.
May the blessing of the West be upon you, beloved ones, the least you and all the siblings of the great family. In the name of the lands, gods, and peoples of the West, may you and yours be blessed. May the great family rejoice. May every road be open unto you, every gate unbarred, every heart a friend. Let the powers of the West be blessed. May an open heart and psychic vision ever fill your burning cup. May the blessing of the West be upon you. And Spirit. I am air, I am fire, I am water, I am earth, we are spirit. I am air, I am fire, I am water, I am earth, we are spirit. I am air, I am fire, I am water, I am earth. I am water, we are spirit. I am air, I am fire, water, we are spirit.
We welcome you here into our temple.
We wish to tell you how much we love you and adore you.
You have been with us in our hearts from the beginning of existence.
And we remain with you even into this day.
We will never be separate from you, for you are our sacred and blessed children.
You are our return, you are our destination, and our future.
We know that you send us love and blessings. We feel it. We are with you. We too have altars on which we place offerings to you, for you are the reliquary of our love.
Feel us moving and burning inside you and attuning you for the cyclone ahead. Feel us as we step side by side with you, carrying you, wooing you. Allow us to whisper to you. Call for our messages. We are speaking to you too.
Serpent of prophecy lies upon you all. You all will begin to feel us. You will receive oracle. Share them. We will speak to you. Share it. We are here for you.
And we will show you perhaps in ways that we have never shown before what our presence is, what our will is, and what we can do when we work as a team in this world and in every other world. These are our words to you. So most be.
And then there we have some footage from the recent double investiture and the lustration. And you know, back in 1979, I was part of a double investiture in the Corellian tradition with Lady Crystal. But we never thought we'd see another double investiture. And of all the members of the tradition who were alive then, we actually are the last two standing. It's been a long time. So I don't think we'll have another ceremony quite like this again in the tradition. So it was, I think, a historic moment and certainly a great pleasure. And so I want to thank everyone who was involved in that. And Krys.
It was incredible.
Yes, indeed. And Mary handled our cameras for us. And we live streamed or otherwise broadcast that entire event on the platforms you're watching now. So if you want to see more of it, it's there. And like all of our archives, it will be there as long as we are here. And that's been 20 odd years online so far, and more coming. Krys, I believe you have some stories from the other side of the planet. But we cannot hear you.
The host has muted my mic. Okay, there we go. I think it's done. Can you hear me now? All right, great. Yeah, so I have several stories to bring you to tonight. They are a bit out of date since they are from May or just before May, but we have some updates to one of our stories involving the climate change protests. So yeah, let's roll it. Welcome to Pagan News. I'm Krys Copeland, your European news correspondent. Turning to our first story tonight, a landmark ruling from the European Court of Human Rights has set a significant precedent in the field of climate change litigation. In a historic decision, the court ruled in favor of the Klimaseniorinnen, a group of elderly Swiss women, recognizing that the Swiss government has failed in its duty to adequately protect their human rights against the impacts of climate change. This judgment underscores the responsibility of states to prevent foreseeable human rights harms due to climate change, aligning with the broader obligations under the European Convention on Human Rights, particularly Article 8, which deals with the right to respect for private and family life. This ruling not only impacts Switzerland, but also sets a guiding precedent for other European states, emphasizing the importance of integrating climate action with human rights obligations. The court highlighted the role of international agreements like the Paris Agreement in determining what constitutes sufficient action by states to combat climate change. Interestingly, 2 other related cases were deemed inadmissible, highlighting the complexity and the specific legal frameworks required in climate litigation. Our second story tonight brings us to The Hague, or Den Haag, the Netherlands, where climate activist Greta Thunberg was arrested not once, but twice in a single day on April 6, 2024. Thunberg, renowned for igniting the Global Fridays for Future movement by skipping school to protest outside the Swedish parliament in 2018, continues to advocate fiercely for urgent climate action. During the protests in The Hague, Thunberg joined forces with Extinction Rebellion to block a major highway, aiming to pressure the Dutch government to end fossil fuel subsidies. This action was strategically timed ahead of a key governmental debate on these subsidies scheduled for June. Despite being briefly detained and released, Thunberg rejoined the protests, leading to her second arrest as she and other activists attempted to disrupt traffic at another critical junction in the city. These arrests highlight the ongoing tension between climate activists and authorities, as well as the increasing severity of responses to environmental protests. Thunberg's repeated detentions underscore the risks activists face and the potential legal repercussions of civil disobedience in the fight against climate change. More than 400 individuals were detained during the day for failing to disperse, emphasizing the scale of the protest and the government's stringent crackdown on such demonstrations. Thunberg's activism, starting with her solitary school strike in 2018, has not only spotlighted the urgency of the climate crisis, but also inspired a wave of global youth activism. Her work challenges leaders worldwide to accelerate their efforts in combating climate change, making her both a symbol of youth-led environmental advocacy and a target in politically charged debates over climate policy. The Eurovision Song Contest 2024 in Malmö, Sweden, wrapped up amidst a whirlwind of controversy and political tension, drawing attention from all over Europe. This year's contest was not just a showcase of musical talent, but also became a focal point for significant geopolitical issues, including protests related to human rights concerns and unexpected drama with one of the contest's participants. Ahead of the contest, there were intense discussions surrounding the inclusion of Israel in the competition, following its military actions in Gaza. Politicians and artists from various European countries, including Spain and Sweden, called for the exclusion of Israel from Eurovision, citing past precedents where nations were barred from the contest due to geopolitical conflicts. The debate highlighted the ongoing struggle within Eurovision to maintain its non-political stance, while addressing member countries' actions that sparked international controversy. The Dutch entry for Eurovision also faced its own dramatic setbacks. Joost Klein, known for his song Europapa, initially passed the semifinals and was set to perform in the final. Early rumors circulated that his oust had been due to a previous incident during a press conference, in which the Israeli contestant was asked by a reporter whether she believed she was putting at risk other contestants by being present at the competition. The moderator for Eurovision told her that she didn't have to answer that question, and Klein piped up with a quick, "Why not?" However, it turned out that his removal was due to another incident during the finals rehearsals. According to Eurovision officials, Klein was involved in a serious incident where he made unlawful threats towards a female production team member. This led to his immediate disqualification by the European Broadcasting Union, or EBU, citing the severity of the allegations and the need to maintain safety and the integrity within the competition. The specifics of the incident included Klein reacting aggressively when he was filmed against his wishes after his performance, resulting in a heated altercation that was quickly reported to the EBU. The situation has warranted an ongoing police investigation. Adding to the drama, Nikki de Jager, a popular Dutch YouTuber, a trans activist and leader in the queer community, and a talented makeup artist, as well as this year's scheduled spokesperson for announcing Dutch votes for Eurovision, withdrew from her duties under unclear circumstances, further complicating the final proceedings for the Netherlands. The details surrounding her withdrawal were not fully disclosed, leaving fans and viewers speculating about potential connections to Klein's disqualification. The Eurovision Song Contest 2024, therefore, concluded on a note that underscored a complex interplay between cultural celebrations and the broader political and social issues facing Europe today. The events have sparked debates about the role of such international events in addressing or reflecting global conflicts and the responsibilities of participants and organizers in managing controversies both on and off stage. Our final story tonight takes us to the heart of Somerset, England, for the vibrant Beltane celebrations in Glastonbury, a festival that lights up the town with its ancient Celtic traditions. Beltane, held on May 1st, is one of the 4 major Gaelic, as well as modern pagan, seasonal festivals, marking the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. This festival celebrates fertility, fire, and abundance, heralding the arrival of summer with rituals that date back thousands of years. The 2024 Beltane festivities in Glastonbury were a spectacular display of community spirit and ancient customs. The event featured a variety of activities that embraced the town's rich, mystical, and historical heritage. Highlights included the iconic maypole dance, where participants weave ribbons around a tall pole, symbolizing the union of the earth and the sky. Fire plays a central role in the celebrations, with bonfires and fire dancing to cleanse and purify, ensuring fertility for the coming season. Visitors could also see the dramatic Green Man procession embodying the spirit of nature and rebirth, which parades through the town to the beat of drums. Alongside these traditional elements, the festival incorporates modern twists, such as workshops, live music, and storytelling, all set against the backdrop of Glastonbury's mythical landscapes, including the Tor and the ancient ruins of Glastonbury Abbey. Glastonbury's Beltane celebration not only draws from its Celtic roots, but also connects with wider pagan traditions, making it a deeply spiritual and culturally enriching experience for everyone who attends. It's a time for locals and visitors alike to come together, celebrating the potent energy and magic of Beltane in a town famed for its spiritual significance. As we close tonight's European segment on Pagan News, we reflect on the remarkable events that have unfolded this month. From the vibrant Beltane celebrations in Glastonbury, steeped in tradition and community spirit, to the heated controversies and debates at Eurovision 2024 in Malmö, the range of human expression and conflict has been on full display. These stories not only highlight the cultural richness of Europe, but also remind us of the ongoing challenges and dialogues around human rights and representation. Each event, in its own way, contributes to the broader tapestry of European life, offering insights and lessons as we move forward into a future that values diversity, equity, and understanding. I'm Krys Copeland, your European news correspondent. Now back to our live programming.
Thank you, Krys. And that had originally been intended as our final story of this broadcast. However, we have one more that has happened just within the last few days. And Krys, would you like to go ahead with that?
Absolutely. So I do have a couple of updates on the other stories as well before we get to our main story for tonight. The first one being the Dutch government regarding its fossil fuel subsidies discussion has come to an agreement about that. The Dutch parliament has mandated the cabinet to develop a plan to phase out fossil fuel subsidies here by 2030. And this will provide an estimated 37.5 billion annually saved from fossil fuel subsidies. So now that money can be spent towards other areas such as climate protection and environmental protection and human rights movements. In addition to that, Joost Klein, the Dutch Eurovision contestant, the police investigation did conclude, and the Swedish police confirmed that Klein has shown evidence that there was a charge that is able to be placed against him. However, that charge has not yet been announced. We are expecting a formal charge to come out soon for him. And if he is charged and convicted, he could face fines, as the crime is not considered severe enough for more stringent penalties such as jail time. And then moving on to our climate change activism, while many groups here in the Netherlands and all across Europe are dedicated towards positive climate change action, there is one group that is making it very clear that it is not in that same category, and that is Just Stop Oil, who recently attacked Stonehenge just 2 days before the big summer solstice event there. And I believe we have a video of that from the Scottish Sun. And here you can see there are, I believe, 2 protesters that came up to spray paint. This turns out to be cornstarch base paint, so it did wash off with water. But 2 people came up to try to stop the climate change protesters. And it turns out there's a lot more to this story than just some climate change protesters perhaps making some irrational decisions. It turns out that Just Stop Oil is actually funded by an oil baroness. I believe her name is Anne Getty, and she is, in fact, financially responsible for these attacks.
And she would be one of the heirs of the Getty oil family.
Yes.
So what was the overall motive of the attacks?
There, of course, Just Stop Oil says this is just to make noise around climate change issues, and that's, of course, their official statement. However, one has to wonder if any of these actions aren't really having a positive impact on preventing the damage from climate change or mitigating the results of climate change. What are their true motives? And when you trace the money back, Just Stop Oil is funded by a larger fund called CEF, and that fund is, in fact, founded by the Getty family.
I think it's worth noting that the British government had actually just passed legislation that was a major step forward with the climate when this occurred. So it's a protest, yeah.
I'm going to say it's also worth noting that they just pagans are the natural allies of climate change, and they just disrupted the solstice celebration. This doesn't seem to make any real sense that you would.
It does raise a lot of questions. And this is only one of a number of incidents in the last couple of years where pagan events have been disrupted in one way or another. And I think it's really important for us as a community to certainly notice the individual events, but to have our eyes on the larger movement that would seem to be behind this, and to have our eye on our own safety and future. And so often we get caught up in fighting over silly little nonsense, which prevents us from being able to work for our common needs. And I think that things like this remind us that we can stand together or not according to our choice, but the people who consider themselves our enemies are standing together. And our ability to deal with that is going to be heavily dependent on our own behaviors.
So, Dawn, what I see is they desecrated Stonehenge to bring awareness to environmentalism. On the other hand, you have people that are, why are you decimating Stonehenge? So it's kind of, so it's brought attention. What I do, the positive is it's a non-violent type of protest where it's creating attention, and I think it's needed attention.
Well, I would argue that there is a bit of violence in this action simply because they weren't letting people know about it in advance, and therefore they created a lot of fear for the pagans that were in attendance that watched this event happen before their eyes, one of our sacred monuments, be damaged. And in addition to that, there might be environmental damage in that area from just the removal process of getting this off. That has been reported by the group that manages Stonehenge. They have reported that there might be other effects caused by the simple act of needing to clean this up.
And how I just keep coming back to, how does damaging what is a national monument to the people of Great Britain of any religious belief and something that is sacred to pagans forward any rational discussion about climate change?
And this is the same group that also targets artwork in museums here. And that also can make people really upset to see, and doesn't win anyone over to the cause of climate change prevention by any means. Stephen Colbert recently had his show where he talked about this incident, and he said, I support climate change protests. I think that this is a good thing. And watching this made me want to go out and buy a Hummer. So clearly, they're creating anger towards themselves as a group and towards climate change protesters in general. None of what they're doing is resulting in positive climate action.
Very important.
I have a question. I have a question for our European correspondent. Do we know exactly what substance that they threw at Stonehenge? What was it? Was it chalk? Was it like was it like dust?
It was cornstarch mixed with some form of food dye, so it did wash off, but the action of washing the stones, of washing this away from the ground, also damaged the site. Like, just the cleanup part was a part of that.
I believe that the Heritage Foundation that manages the site has also pointed out that had it rained before they were able to remove this, it would have been a much harder process. That it's not quite as harmless as as it's being portrayed. And that had it rained, it would have left stains that would have been quite difficult to remove.
It brings to mind the entitlement of that influencer who tried to climb Machu Picchu after that had been banned from the public to protect the integrity of that site. And yeah, there's a lot of entitlement in this action, that they feel they have the right to disrupt a pagan event and cause potential damage to a pagan religious site. That does need to be taken into consideration in this situation.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly. And
but thank you, Krys. And thank you, Mary, and thank you, Harold. And this has been a wonderful broadcast. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. And we will be back in 1 month for our next broadcast. Thank you, and until next time, may you blessed be.
Blessed be.